Hey, sis. Today's episode is an interview that I did with Kevia Croft of Content Atlanta, a content studio found in Atlanta, Georgia. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the abundance mindset. And I'm super excited about this episode because when I think about the abundance mindset, I automatically think about Kevia. And I truly believe that you will be in for a treat. So if you're someone who is struggling with receiving wealth, if you're someone who is struggling with your mindset, if you're someone who knows that God has called you to wealth, but you also understand that it's important to have the mindset to receive, you're going to want to tune into this episode. Let's get to it. You are listening to Call Her Profitable, the podcast where we blend faith, business, and personal development. I'm your host, Odaisha, founder of the Woman of Power Group and certified life and business coach. And on this podcast, we'll explore partnering with God in your entrepreneurial endeavors, uncover your God-given gifts so you can start and grow a business that flows, transform your mindset, and walk confidently in your calling. So grab your journal, sis, that Bible, and your favorite iced coffee as we embark on this journey together. Let's get started. Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Call Her Profitable podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about cultivating an abundance mindset. And I'm really excited about this episode because a lot of time we as entrepreneurs want to skip over the mindset stuff, right? If you know me, I'm a very tactical girl. I'm somebody who give me the steps, give me the know-hows, I want to do it. But what I have found in my entrepreneurship journey is that sometimes there's barriers in my way to get done what needs to get done, and it's our mindset. And when we really think about mindset, it follows the be, do, have model, which basically says if you are the person you are supposed to be, you will have what you want to have. So let's say you want to have the profitable business or a healthy relationship or that fitness goal. You have to be the woman first in your mindset. Then you'll do what is necessary to have what it is that you want. So talking about mindset is going to be very important and crucial in our profitability journey. And today, y'all, I have a guest on this episode, and I am super excited that she's here because she is literally, when it comes to cultivating an abundant mindset, I automatically always think of her. She's my very best friend. We have been best friends for over a decade, and she is somebody that I have seen in the flesh cultivate an abundance mindset. She is somebody who I have seen operate with high levels of money and not be scared. And it's actually because of her that I cultivated this abundant mindset. It's nothing that she necessarily said to me, but it's just the way that she operates. And it just made me want to adopt this type of mindset. So my prayer is, as I ask her questions and pick her brain, that you guys also will receive something that will help you in your mindset. So without further ado, I have Kevia Croft. She is the founder and owner of many things, but the founder and owner of Content Atlanta, a content studio in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's going to be talking to us about the abundance mindset. Let's welcome her. Hey, Kevia.
Hello, Odaisha. I am so blessed and honored to be connecting with you today for this conversation and also to be sharing with the women who will be tuning in.
So we're going to get right to the juicy stuff because we want to make money and we want the mindset in order to get money. So Kevia, in 30 to 60 seconds, can you just let us know who you are, what you do, so that the girls know that you qualify to talk about this topic?
Of course. So again, my name is Kevia Croft, and I am a wealth creator. Simply put, I have designed my life from a situation where my time dictated my income to a place where my assets define my income. And I moved into that mindset and that way of living based on like my ability to connect with the abundance that we are birthed into. So for me, I have had a career now spanning professionally actually about 15 years. I first started working at 14. And my first job was an entrepreneur type of job where I just started off DJing at parties. Now, today, I own a content studio here in Atlanta where we help small business owners grow their brand recognition through content creation. So content creation now is something I'm really passionate about, but truly what I'm passionate about is teaching others like me, first-gen Americans, moms, women, how to become financially independent and have a strong abundance mindset.
Awesome. So she qualified, y'all. And there's a lot of terminology that you have mentioned, asset and income. And I definitely going to want you to break that down for us. But I want to go back to a point of your story where was very interesting to me because I know you personally, but I want you to talk about it on this episode. You were working a high net worth job. You were working a job where, shoot, I wanted to work at that company when I was in college. I remember visiting the company and hoping like, oh my gosh, I want to work here. But they didn't pick me, but you were working a high level, a high earning job, dang near six figures, and you left. So can you walk us through what happened in that at that moment and where did your abundant mindset begin to start?
So that really started from the point where, I was a senior in college. I knew I was about to graduate soon and it was time to decide, like most seniors, are you going to go to grad school or are you going to continue or you're going to leave and start working, and join the workforce. So for me, my instinct was to work. I felt like, again, like being a first gen American, my parents sacrificed a lot, not just for me to be here, but to get a college degree. And, I felt like at that time, it was time for me to start working and to start repaying some of the debts that I felt like I owed my parents per se. So I didn't consider grad school. While it might have been something that if I didn't have or felt that like pressure, I would have considered. But for me, I knew I wanted to work. So I went into the mindset of looking for a job senior year, knowing that I wanted a job within finance at a good financial firm or something within the finance sector, just because finance and money has always been something that I was personally passionate about. And when I did get this job, I was just over shouting for joy. Like, I was just so happy. I felt like I had crossed a goal that I really wanted off of my list. And for me, I, at that time, didn't really have a strong, abundant mindset. I was a very calculated person and I tried to dictate every one of my steps. So at that moment, when I got that job and it was time to enter, the quote unquote real world, I remember my first day of work feeling like I messed up. I told myself I knew from that first day of work that this wasn't going to be something that would hold longevity for me and my wealth, but I knew it was an important stepping stone. So I told myself, or at least I coached myself on understanding how to play in that position as long as I could. And it did get to a while after, getting promoted pretty quickly and getting a new role where I really started to realize that my time there was coming to an end. And one of the important things I want to share about that time was I hated my job for a while, but I wouldn't quit. I would like cry to everyone who would listen, but I wouldn't quit. And the main reason why I wouldn't quit is because I knew I didn't have God's permission yet to leave that job. So I would wake up 5 a.m. and cry a little bit. Then I'll hop in the shower and get on the train, and keep it pushing because I knew I didn't have permission. I knew at the end of the day, regardless of the mindset that I held that got me there, I knew that God was shaping me for expansion in that time and place. I just had to be patient and wait till, he let me know it was time to be released from that space. And I really remember the actual day that I decided to quit. It was a day that was unlike most of my days where I woke up really sad going to work. This day, I woke up happy. I felt the peace of God telling me, like, today's the day you could quit. Like I actually woke up with his peace that morning. And it actually made quitting a more joyful experience, knowing that in my eyes, I completed this level for God. I saw this through for God, and he was rewarding me with letting me know now it's time to continue down the journey.
That is so good. And there's a lot of gems that we can pull out of there. But I want to ask you, what mindset did you have going into this six-figure job?
So going into the six-figure job, I had a scarcity mindset. And I say that because even deciding to work came from a scarcity mindset that I wasn't going to be able to repay my parents at some point. I had a strong urge of needing to make money, which is not godly. God tells us when and how things are going to come into fruition. So for me, I feel like I may have pushed myself to get that job and not really even consider, like I said, grad school or consider any other option. For me, it was like a must. I had to get a job. I had to get a job in finance. And it was less of me relying on God, and instead it was me trying to control my plan. So from that and not having a true openness to what God may have wanted me to do, like really and truly in that moment, is what pushed me into exploring, getting straight into finance after graduating.
How did you know that you had a scarcity mindset? And at what point did it shift to an abundance mindset?
So I only realized I had a scarcity mindset when I came into light or into acknowledgement of what an abundant mindset was. And to be honest, it's funny, like now that I think about it, I can't remember exactly when in my life I had this particular dream, but it was a dream that really changed it all for me. And I had a dream where I was giving away stuff. Just I had a long line of people in front of me, and I was literally just grabbing and giving, grabbing and giving. And in that process of grabbing and giving, which giving is something I connect with deeply. I love to give. But in that moment of me grabbing and giving, there was a moment in the dream where I thought, what happens if I run out? And as soon as I had that thought in my dream, I looked behind me and I noticed every time I gave something away, there was somebody giving me something else. So every time I gave, I received. So the faster I gave, the faster I received. And for me, honestly, that dream really changed a lot for me because I have always been a very calculated person, right? So I'm very calculated with how I spend my time, how I decide what's a good decision versus a bad decision. I'm very calculated with how I spend my money. And that has always made me a very frugal person, which we can say is a good trait, but I think one should never be overly frugal. You have to have a good balance of understanding how to save, but even more how to give. And I think a lot of people struggle with the giving part, honestly, more than the saving part. A lot of people are more okay with saving and feeling like they are being a good steward of their money, even though they're not sharing that money. So I needed that dream in that point of time because everything I did was based off of a calculation of what I thought I received and me thinking I controlled what I received. And I needed that dream to make me realize that I don't control what I receive. God controls what I receive. And I have to be willing to give to receive.
So good. This is so good. And I wish y'all could see her face when she spoke about this dream. She just lit up because I can just tell that this was a pivotal point in her journey. So now you have this abundant mindset. Can you let us know what an abundant mindset is, what it looks like, and what was the first thing that you did with this newfound revelation?
That's a really great question. So I like to define a abundant mindset as a mindset where you are not in control, you allow God to control, and you are working for God's impact. So when you're working for God's impact, you're not thinking about how you are receiving once again. You're thinking about how you are impacting. And when you have that mindset shift, it allows you to free yourself from a lot of fears and worries that we have as people. A lot of the time we worry about how we're going to take care of our bills or how we're going to afford something or how, we can just be better people in general. But a lot of that honestly can be solved through giving, right? You can solve that through giving your time, giving your talent, giving your space. So I had to realize that to be abundant includes giving at its core. And if you're not giving, you can't be abundant without giving, because you have to believe that you have so much that you can share. And abundance to me is not just about hoarding what you have, it's about sharing what you have. And what I love about abundance too, it's not one factor. There's many categories that make us abundant. You're abundant through the friendships that you hold, the relationships that you have. You're abundant through the wealth that you accumulate, or how financially responsible you are with the wealth that you are able to steward. So those are like the two facets that I really concentrate abundance is how you take care of yourself physically and mentally, and then how you're taking care of yourself from a financial standpoint.
So good. And you touched a lot on giving. What do you say to the woman who feels she doesn't have anything to give? She's struggling right now. She feels like she doesn't have any money. How can one give from that place?
I really like that question. And I have been there where there were coaches and entrepreneurs that were offering me their expertise in something that, for example, I really wanted to learn, or a skill that I knew would make me better, to make me a better giver or a better servant in what it is that I'm passionate about. And I think at some point you have to stop again relying on you thinking you are the one that dictates what you receive. A lot of it honestly comes from like one major shift I had to do, even is like when we think about money, a lot of people are like, let me teach you how to budget. I don't ever like to refer to my money and how I deal with it as budgeting, because a budget means that there is a limited or fixed amount of income that you are utilizing to dictate your spending. And our income is never fixed. We have the ability to make as much money as we want, to have as much impact as we can. So I always refer to my money and how I deal with it as money management. It's a system where we're looking at what comes in as much as what comes out. And we understand that the input and the output can both go up and down, and that not either is fixed. So even that like mindset shift and framing how I deal with my money allows me to understand that if I'm giving X amount, I am going to be open to receiving X amount. It's not a one-way street where what comes out is not going to come back in. As long as you're investing in the right places, giving in the right places, you'll always receive a return on that investment.
Whew. A budget is like a restriction. And with an abundance mindset, you're basically saying that we have overflow.
Exactly. Like we've been lied to. There's no budget. And these little things really causes a triple effect on like how we think about money, how willing we are to tithe, how willing we are to give to others, how willing we are to invest in ourselves. It all reflects on how we see income. If we don't see income as something that's coming and just ending, then that really puts a limit on how we can transform.
So Kevia, because you was spitting a lot of powerful gems, and it's clearly that it stems from your abundant mindset. How do one cultivate this mindset?
That is a great question. So, how to cultivate an abundance mindset 101. I think the first step, and honestly, that's such a great question. I haven't thought that out, but now I need to really like look into that. For me, it was different, right? It came from a dream where I was such a frugal person. People like I just can't believe how tight fist I used to be. And it's not even like I didn't have money. And that's the most like that's the funniest part about it. It's not even like I was tight fist for a reason. And I think that's what hurts me the most is when you realize how not being abundant limits you and how it can affect relationships. It can affect the type of gift you buy for your friends because you like are thinking about, oh, like why, like you'll limit how much you'll spend on somebody because you have that limited mindset. You'll limit how much you'll spend on yourself because of that same mindset. So I had to realize, you have to realize or identify how the decisions you are making are impacting your transformation again, right? So if you're making decisions surely based off of a price or based off of the ability, or you feel like you don't have it, then that comes from a lack of mindset, a scarcity mindset. Another example of scarcity in my life, honestly, is like I deal with hoarding. Like personally, I am not only I used to be I'm better with my money, but like possession, I still struggle with letting go of possessions. And I had to think about it. Like, why do I struggle so much with letting go of t-shirts that's like 10 years old? Why do I still want to hold on to it? And for me, I came to the conclusion what happened for me is that I'm Caribbean. I'm a first gen Guyanese American. And growing up, my mom, and she still does, sends barrels to Guyana. And a barrel is basically like, it's almost like a big box that you send back to your home country filled with all nice goodies. And a lot of it includes like hand me downs, old clothes, and stuff. And growing up, sometimes when I'm looking for like my favorite shirt, I'm like, hey, mom, where's that shirt? She's like, oh, I put it in the barrel. And who said I was finished with that? So I think because I was kind of forced into giving and I didn't realize the good in it, it kind of made me so attached to my items because my mom would just give it away to people who needed it more than me, honestly. But I didn't see it as like giving it to someone who needed it more because in that moment I felt like I still needed it. So I think part of it in shaping that abundant mindset, again, it deals a lot with auditing your current behavior. That's always the first step is an assessment of what am I doing now that might not be in alignment with abundance? And it's more of a scarcity mindset. So once I realized, I'm holding on to these clothing because of, childhood trauma, it allowed me to free myself up in that capacity to be more abundant with giving. Like this week I met this lady who is she has a mission with her church where I'm about to give away like 50 to 100 pounds of clothing this week. And I'm happy about it. I'm happy to let go and to share, but I had to audit my behavior and audit the way I held on to things like money and possessions and earthly things to understand that that wasn't in alignment with abundance.
You said so many powerful things, and I want to peel back the layer of when you spoke about understanding the abundance mindset and how one interacts with how they might spend money. So you mentioned that an abundant mindset can kind of dictate the gift that you buy for your friend because you think that there's nothing coming in. Where do you draw the line, or where can one draw the line between, like, sis, you really don't have money, you're not good with handling money, and you're just buying frivolously and it put in abundance mindset, like you're just labeling that as an abundant mindset, right? You don't have the money for this luxury bag, but you saying, oh, I got this abundant mindset, the money's going to come, so I'm going to go ahead and get this bag. But now you don't have money for your mortgage, your money for your rent. So where is that fine line, and how can one balance, like, okay, I have this abundant mindset, but recognizing where I am in this season and being responsible?
Okay, so I love that. Cause we often can try to throw that abundance word and use it and abuse it. So I definitely understand that. And I think it is a fine line. Cause I even have to always re-examine, for example, right? And I had this conversation with my mom the other day, and it's basically right now I am budgeting because I just opened this studio. My expenses are higher now. But one of the things I pride myself on is taking care of my health. And the reason being is because my first time making good money, I neglected my health. And I had to take care of myself for like a year after that to be able to be physically and mentally strong enough to be myself. So throughout my process now as a professional, I make sure I always cater to my health. And nutrition is important to me. And with nutrition being important to me, I like organic fruits and vegetables. Okay. As we know, sometimes organics be organicing, the prices be pricing. Okay. So right now I'm like, Mom, I'm budgeting, but my heart can't do it to buy non-organic fruits and vegetables. Like, I'm like, I don't know if that, and for me, when I say that too, I say that from an abundance mindset because I feel like even though I'm budgeting right now, when it comes to my health, something that I know is aligned what God would want is me to take care of my health, that if I feel like it's best for me to buy organic fruits and vegetables, then that's what I'm going to do, because I understand that God understands that too. And with that, he's going to make sure that I do have a lifestyle where I can afford my organic fruits and vegetables. So even though I'm budgeting right now, and technically it's not in the budget, technically I could be saving money by, buying regular fruits and vegetables. They're, just as good for the most part. But for me, I want to make sure, like, especially I have a child, right? So I'm very concerned about what I feed her, and I really want to feed her the best. So I was just asking my mom, like, is that kind of silly of me to still be buying organic fruits and vegetables, knowing that I should be budgeting? And she was like, no, it's okay to take care of your health, and I'm doing it because, again, I know that if I'm eating right and I'm fueling myself right, it's only going to allow me to serve people better. So I'm not going to neglect myself in spaces that's going to affect how I serve and show up for God and God's people. Now, if it's something like a purse, I don't need a new purse. Like, one of my friends sent me some shoes that was on sale. I don't need no shoes on sale. Like, that's out of the budget right now. That's not part in line with my abundance. Just traditionally, I tend to not buy a lot of luxury goods and jewelry. And that's just my personal decision, because I feel like as a financial activist, I find that it's better for people in my community, African Americans, to learn more about different assets that they can invest in that they might not typically buy. So, instead of spending on more materialistic things, I want to buy houses, and I want to buy different types of assets that would pay me, like digital assets, or invest in coaching programs that would allow me to develop myself as an individual. So I find that we know where are the areas that we might be pulling it and stretching it and saying like, oh, well, I could get my hair done today because, I can get my hair done. I can get my nails done, even though I don't have a job, because, I know God's going to give me a job soon. Like, no, let's not stretch it that way. Let's instead maybe say, I'm going to invest in this course because it's going to help me to steward some skills that I need, that I can leverage, that would allow God to put me in a position to help his people. So it's about the choices you make.
I love that. And the root of everything sound like priority, like what to prioritize. And something that has been a thread in this conversation is God. Now, we're all Jesus girls here, of course, because we're building God-honoring businesses. We are strong in our relationship with God, and God is the boss of everything that we have going on. I really want to talk to you from this perspective with your relationship with God. And we do have an episode coming up soon with my first lady. She's going to be talking to us about receiving wealth, but also being a minister, also being a preacher of the gospel, and not feeling ashamed that God has positioned you for wealth. It's going to be a rich conversation. But since we have Kevia on here, she's also a valid representation of somebody that is doing work for the kingdom of God, somebody who knows she's called to wealth, somebody who handles large amounts of wealth, but she's very vocal about her relationship with God. So I want to take it there. I'm going to go there. Hey sis, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode right there before it gets too long. And I'll make sure to post part 2 of the Cultivate an Abundant Mindset with Kevia Croft in our next episode. I truly, truly, truly hope that so far this interview has blessed you, has shaped and stretched your mind. And I'm excited to share with you guys part 2 next week. Hey sis, thanks for tuning in. If you found any value in today's episode, I'd love to hear from you. Please take a moment to leave a review and share the podcast with a friend. Together, we can empower more women to walk boldly in their faith and business. Until next time, stay profitable.